Irene, I do have to ask you, how in goodness name did you ever get started in this crazy thing, helping people out, the Irene Gold, classes?
Well, I graduated from chiropractic college in 1974 from New York and went down to Sherman College to become a teacher at Sherman College. And during the course of that event, we realized that Sherman College, being the first college to begin in 25 years, that we needed to make sure that the people passed the national board. They came up for it in 1975 for the first time. One of the other teachers in the school and I got together and we decided to put on a review class to try to get everybody through. We had 53 people in our first class, and actually 3 of them passed. That's what happened. And when we found out why only 3 of them passed, we then revised our entire program. And the second time we had a class, we had 187 people, and 3 of them failed. And since then, during the entire time I was at Sherman College, we were the top school in the country for national boards. National was below us, LACC, all of the other schools. And of course, at that time, there was no Life College, there was no Parker College, there was a whole bunch of colleges that weren't there. And so when I left in 1978, I continued to do this. And really, when I left at Sherman College, I thought I was going to be doing boards twice a year. And the rest of the time, I was going to spend my time on the French Riviera, just taking it easy. Didn't happen that way.
So how many schools are you in now?
I'm in all the schools I want to be in.
Fair game, touche. I will go no further. Now, do you personally teach still?
Of course.
I know when I had you back in the day, you would get down on us a little bit. I mean, Irene would go up there, and I'm talking back in the 70s, and I was out at Palmer, and I remember Irene had this little, I don't know, you rented out a hall or something, and we went in, and she got up there with the books, and you guys know, the students should know, and you docs can remember, you're sitting there, and you're hearing this minutia, hour after hour. Irene could go 4 hours and then finally give us a bathroom break. And there's like my eyes were spinning in my head, my ears were turning, and she just kept it up and kept it up. Where do you get the passion from?
Those people are dependent upon me for their life. They went ahead and they went to chiropractic college and they spent all this money and they got to pay it back to the government. The school thought they were good enough to have a diploma. I figure if they have good enough to have a diploma, then they should have a license. No matter who they are, where they came from, they should have that license. And I did it because I had fun doing it. Why would I do something I didn't enjoy? So that's why I kept doing it.
There is sort of a problem, someone that enjoys that kind of stuff, Irene. I hate to say this, but,
What?
Okay, now, I have to lead into some historical questions. So, you met this handsome lad named Reginald Gold back in when?
1958.
Okay, 58. I think Jerry Clum was a young man back then, very young. You met Reggie at, what was it, a dance or something? What was that?
Social event.
Social event.
Before social media.
Now, who swept who off their feet?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I went to this meeting because with a girlfriend of mine, figuring, we're looking for some guys. We just came back from college. I was a young person. I've been looking for other young people. I walked in, and he's up there making this presentation, and this other woman sitting next to me, and there are 2 of them there. And she says to me, I think I like that guy. I said, okay, when we take the break, you go for him, I'm going for him. And that was it. And that's what we did. He called himself doctor. I was a nurse. You know what I mean? Looked like the right thing for me to do.
It sounds good. Sounds good. Now listen, I remember Reggie telling me a different story. He said he saw this hot tomato sitting in the audience, and he said, hey, when she came up, it was, there was no brainer there. So I had to throw that in. All right, so you and Reggie, excuse my French, hooked up, and eventually started, to date and get together. And you had a practice up in Spring Valley?
Right, Spring Valley.
Okay, and how long were you up in practice there?
Well, he started the practice in 1958, and he left in 1973, and Ernie took over.
Okay, so in 73, now I'm leading to something, he left. Where did he go?
He went to Sherman.
Sherman College down in South Carolina.
Right.
Okay, for what reason?
Well, they were starting a new school, and Tom Gelati knew him from the ICA because they worked together in the ICA, and they needed somebody who was going to attract students to the school. And nobody knew Tom Gelati, and everybody knew Reggie because he had been doing a lot of seminars all over the country and that kind of thing. And so that's what he wanted him to come down to bring in the students.
And how did you get hoodwinked into going down there? How did that happen with you? How did you?
Well, I was in school at the time.
Okay.
I was in my last year of chiropractic college in New York, and he went down. I got rid of the house, took care of everything. Ernie took over the office, and I stayed for another year before I went down.
Okay, so now you're down there with him. He's there. There was this fellow that they called Riekeman, okay? And I want you to just explain your first thoughts of Guy Riekeman.
Okay, but we have to go back further than that.
Oh, before that.
Oh, we have to go back much further.
I stand corrected.
Okay, so this is what happened. In 1960, I took my first trip to Davenport, Iowa, to Lyceum. B.J. Palmer was the speaker. There was no auditorium there. It was a great big tent, and it was the most thrilling experience I have ever had. Even when I talk about it, I remember being there, okay? When his talk, when the evening was over at 10 o'clock, when all of the events were over, they gave us the right to use a classroom in the school to talk to students. So they would come afterward, and we'd start talking at 10 o'clock at night until 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, that kind of thing, during the entire Lyceum time. That continued every year. We went there every year, all through from 1960 until 1972. In 1972, Palmer put on a special program. The first day, and I guess, Jerry, you were there at the time, and I know Guy was there because we were all there at the time. And they had a philosophy day one day before Lyceum. Reggie gave the first talk in the morning, which you have all heard, The Valley of the Blind. That was the talk he gave in 1972 at Palmer College. And Sid Williams finished the afternoon and they had other miscellaneous speakers. We don't know who they were. But they were philosophy people. And everybody was excited. So this was, and by that time, in 1972, they had already had the auditorium built. It was the first year the auditorium was built. And that night, we went upstairs to have the meeting, and there were so many people that showed up at the meeting that we couldn't put them all in one room. So Reggie said to me, call Dave Palmer. Get him to open up the auditorium. We want to put the program on there. So we went ahead, and he did that. Now, it was at that meeting, during that time, that I met Guy Riekeman. Guy Riekeman was probably friendly with Reggie even before that, even before when he first got into school. But that's when so that's the first time. So the next time I see him, well, I'm not really sure how I was introduced to him, but I'm telling you, this guy was a tall, skinny guy with the biggest afro you ever saw in your life, okay? I don't know if he's got pictures. I don't know if he's got, but I'm telling you, I mean, he was, you could see it, he was impressive. And he always had really great questions and stuff like that. So the next thing that happened, he graduated, I think 1973, sometime around there. And he went into practice in Kansas City. I have no idea how this happened, but he called me to come and do his layman lecture in his office. I was going to do it. I mean, he's a speaker, right? What do I know about speaking? I'm a teacher. So anyway, he calls me and so flies me out there to Kansas City. I'm going to do this layman lecture for him, and I get the worst migraine headache in my life. And I could not go on. I could not. So he ended up doing the lecture anyway. So that was it. So now we get into Sherman College, and Reggie has to leave Sherman College for other political reasons. I don't want to go into it. I want to know about it, read in my book. But we
Which is for sale? Wait, your book for sale?
Yeah.
We're going to get that. Just a side note.
What?
We're going to get your book on Amazon or?
Nah, don't go to Amazon. Call me.
Okay.
No, you can get it at Life West
Okay.
and Sherman College sells
Okay.
it.
Irene's got a book.
They-
Everybody buy it.
Yeah,
Cheap advertising.
yeah. So where was I?
You were just about to say Guy was going to come down. I'll keep my mouth shut from this
come
point
down.
on.
Right. He was gonna come down to. We needed somebody to replace Reggie at Sherman College, and he's a young guy. I mean, he's in his 20s, and he's the guy we thought could do the job. So he gets invited down, and he was incredible. I mean, he just taught all these classes. He had a big house. All of the parties were his house. What the parties weren't at his house, were at my house, but they were parties always around chiropractic. There was always that theme of chiropractic in everything that we did, everything. So we had a great time together. He and I left at the same time. He left. We both left in June of 1974. He left with Joe Felicia, who also came down. After Guy came down, Joe Felicia came down, and then they got together and formed that Renaissance program. And then I didn't see them for many, many years. I mean, every once in a while you'd run into him. I haven't seen him for many years. And then the next thing I know, he becomes president of Palmer College. It was very exciting for us, for him to become president. So we packed up and we went out. We were at the inauguration. We were there at the inauguration. It was great. And he was on his way, and he was just building this college. The next thing I know, he's leaving Palmer College. Okay, I don't want to know all the details. I don't need to know all, but he's leaving Palmer College. And then Reggie said to me, you know, Guy called me today. He's got an offer to go to Life University, and he was asking my opinion about it. And I said to him, do it. And I'll tell you what, that's the best thing that ever happened to Life College at that time. The best, absolutely the best, because that school would have closed. You got lucky, you Life people. You got Guy Riekeman to save you. And I think that's like the best thing that could have ever happened. I mean, when he got there, under 300 students. What have they got there today? They built the biggest college, and look at all the people here from Life University. I mean, I go to Life University and teach those students. They're terrific. Not like some of the other ones I got from other schools. These guys, this is really a great group.
All right, so you've known Guy for 40, 50 years now, I guess, close to...
Something like that.
Yeah,
he was a young guy, I can tell you that.
He still is. Still handsome, maybe not as skinny, the hair,
the hair
not as much,
gone,
but
yeah.
I shouldn't talk about these things anyway.
But you see what we were people who committed to chiropractic from the very beginning, and so was he. Even when I got married, before I got married, Reggie says to me, I want you to know, chiropractic is my life, and if that's not going to work for you, you have to let me know. Well, chiropractic is Guy's life and has always been.
Thank you.
I'm proud to be here to celebrate with you guys.
Yep.
Okay.
What we've done here is just got some pure history from Irene, about her personally. We led that into Guy Riekeman. And what I'm going to do now, Irene, I'd like you to stay someplace up in here. We're going to bring Guy up, and we're going to do a little bit of a talk about Guy. Not a roast, but, well, you never know how these things turn out.
Okay.
Guy,